1, 2, 4. Here do we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast from Duendelvin. I'm Corbin, and in this podcast, we're unveiling the world of Savarion. This is Jeff and Kyle, creators, and today we're going to be talking about secret societies again.
Woo! Yeah!
Because nobody can have enough. Down. Can you give me a second to catch my breath? Or do it while I'm talking. Awesome.
I like it while you're talking. We're full send it.
Yeah, we're
It's
going.
Live shenanigans.
Yep. You can see all the problems.
It's always a little weird when it's live because you can't.
Yeah, there's no.
Can't really.
You can edit it for the final cut, but if somebody's watching,
You get the
uncut, unfiltered.
the weird stuff that it's like.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead. We're live again.
And then we get to fly Kungan, and you get to be here when we fly Kungan.
No, don't fly Kungan.
Why not?
So last time,
Kungan's not a spaceship.
We're blasting.
who remembers where we were at last time?
I do. I remember.
Talking about.
Oh, Corbin, volume.
Oh yeah, I'm loud.
Just a little bit. There you go.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more.
Oh yeah.
You don't get this stuff in the videos.
We cut out all the shenanigans.
You can be live for this.
Well, not all the shenanigans.
No, we don't.
Minimum.
Not
We're
all
actually
of it.
not cutting out all the shit.
Oh, I don't like it when I cut out shenanigans.
Oh, okay. We'll like it if you guys show up live.
Absolutely.
Come ask your questions. We need stuff to talk about.
I mean, you also have the chance to make your ideas canon because everything.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, we had.
Because we've done that twice now.
We have a Moo Moo Emporium. What was the other one?
Dave's Moo Moo Emporium was
Is one of them definitely. And the other one, I'll have to go back and look, but it definitely became canon. The puzzles. If you want to go potty in the human realm, you got to answer a puzzle first. And
Oh, yeah.
Pray to
Oh,
goodness
my
you don't need
goodness.
TP.
Okay, so since we need
Puzzle
more
toilets.
conspiracy in our lives,
Absolutely.
and it's
Well,
not
I
a
mean-
conspiracy, it's just some things don't check out.
Some things don't. Yeah. Listen, I'm
'Cause
not
there's-
denying the thing can be a thing, but I have yet to see personal evidence that the thing is a thing.
I just don't know. So basically, the recap.
Birds aren't
So
real.
Ayala and Kenji. Ayala's kind of taking a break because Kenji is like
Himself.
beating himself because he's wondering what Ayala's doing, and so he creates a dagger and sends that with a little skirmish to kill a Horakai to see if it actually destroys the core.
And oops, they accidentally killed the big boy.
Whoops.
Oops, we killed the.
So Nargoth
Big
dies.
one.
Yep. Oops,
Thernix shows up to the keepers and goes, "Hey, I need that power that Nargoth had to revive and create more of us." And Kenji goes, "No." And so Thernix basically is like, "Fine, I'll do my own thing." So that's where we're at.
And effectively, yeah, Thernix does that false humility of fine, I'll continue to serve until my time is done. Yep.
Right.
And then proceeds to pitch a fit, ruin the world.
Well, it doesn't really. He's not gonna fit because a fit is like spontaneous and wild, right?
No, he let this boil.
He hatched a plan. Him and his brothers got together.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They were like, "What's what they say?" And Thernix like, "They're not giving us nothing, so now we don't need them. We're better than this."
We can do this on
We
our
can-
own.
As someone who has a brother, that totally happens. Like, constantly.
Really?
What? We'll
Hey,
scheme
Ian.
about things.
So now
That
we
was
get to
for what happened in
introduce
2016.
Secret Society number 2.
Ah, yes.
Actual reason as to why Kenji thinks that everything is going awry,
Because he thinks the Horakai are subverted.
right, is because of
The Knights of End of Days.
the Knights of the End of Days. That's right.
I missed the, my bad.
Well, no, you're good.
Knights of End of Days? The Knights of the End of Days?
Knights of, I don't know. I think I said the one too many times.
The,
the
the
Knights of
Knights
End
of
of
the
Days.
End of the Days.
Uh-oh. I'll be right back.
Cool.
Okay. So, all right. Knights of the End of Days. So they were. Okay. So.
Who founded them? And what was their purpose?
Am I good? Okay. So the Knights of the End of Days. If we all go back just a moment and from last episode, we were talking about how there were Arcanists, and they were in the middle of a skirmish, and they got beaten to a pulp, and there was one still alive. So Ayala takes that dude and takes him to Vagog, introduces him to Vagog. And Vagog says, Ayala, I need you to just sit and do nothing. I have a plan, right? Ayala's plan was... Vagog's plan, was I'm going to build this guy into something new and release him on the world. And those are affectionately called the Broken. The reason for this is because the way that we design Savarionites is they cannot be both an Essence Wielder and an Arcanist. And so if an Arcanist exists, they can't wield Essence. And if they were to try to tap into both or gain access to both, it would kill them. And so Vagog uses that to spur this new creation, gives this guy, which did we give him a name? What is his name?
He sacrificed his name when he became a disciple.
The first.
Of
He was.
Now he's the first one.
He is the Broken.
He's the,
If anyone is the Broken, it's him.
I forgot to unmute. So yeah, he sacrificed his name and as a offering and of thanks to Vagog for giving him his life.
Right.
So he is the first one only.
And so now he possesses the power to survive as an Arcanist and an Essence Wielder, and he gets additional powers because he's broken. And so he goes and he creates the Knights of End of Days, because now he's a follower of Vagog. And as we all know, creation story number 1, Vagog's purpose was to eradicate, dissolve, make it go away.
Yep.
Right? And so now, with Ayala being the high priest, Ayala's kind of in a destructive, right? Ayala's wildly destructive. The Broken, the first, is actually about eradication.
Yep.
He's 100% on board with Vagog's vision, eradication.
The true vision of Vagog.
The true vision of Vagog, right. And so he starts introducing this to the world in small doses, because anything like this will cause everybody to freak out and they'll die. But because they're playing both sides with additional power in the middle, they're more powerful than an Essence Wielder or an Arcanist on their own. And so this is how that evolves. And so he creates the Knights of End of Days.
If I'm correct, from when he was being created, he's a human, correct? So...
Did we formally establish that?
I don't think we
on the
did
base
now.
sketch of
did
it,
now. Okay.
yeah, he's a human now. On the base, I thought he was a human because I drew something
Oh yeah, we're using your art
at
for
some
that.
part, and then he kind of he's just like a guy.
Yeah.
So, but from what I understand, when he was being created, he was very secretive about it and very methodical.
Yes.
So he didn't jump the gun. He wasn't just like wreak havoc everywhere. He was like, I'm going to slowly just poison the world without anyone knowing. And at some point, wasn't there like an uprising?
His lieutenants, his big children. So he goes and he makes more. Definitely, he makes more. And then...
So that's the Broken Wars.
The Broken Wars exist.
Which is basically like a civil war of the Knights of End of Days.
No.
It's like a subversion group where they went out and they were like, we should be ruling this world, not hiding in the shadows. And the first one was like, well, if you're not going to listen to me, I'm not going to stop you. So go and do your thing and let the world eradicate you and let you be an example to the other children of mine why we operate in the shadows. Yes, we're very powerful. However, the combined might of the 9 won't stand for it.
Right. And so you're writing those books. So those are the books that are actively being written. And so what the story is going to be is that the 9 races are dealing with the lieutenants of the first. So he's created the Knights of End of Days. There's a group of them that step out and say, we should be ruling the world, right? And they start causing problems around the world, active problems. And so the books are written as like how the Minotaurs handle this situation, how the Halflings handle this situation. And so it'll be 9 books, and it'll be how each individual race handles this event as the Broken are stepping into. And so they step out of the Knights of End of Days and into their own like thing, and that's what becomes the Broken Wars.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The Broken Wars is...
You are wrong.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding.
I'm wrong then.
Keep going.
One of the pre-built campaigns you're gonna have for your role-playing game when it does come out is centered around that time frame.
I don't think so.
No,
No,
because when I went through the Arl Queen, it was connected to the Broken.
but it wasn't.
That's post-affirmation.
Yeah.
That's post. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Broken Wars happens, was it 500 years-ish?
It's 500 years before the actual
Before
kickoff
the
of,
fall.
yeah, the fall.
And then the first one would hardly ever be seen. Like,
Yeah, no,
he'd
he
make his
doesn't.
first ones and then he'd just not exist anymore.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
okay. What's an Arl?
What's an Arl?
So Arls didn't exist until after the affirmation, and they
love
were
Arls.
a byproduct of. I think we talked about this a little bit. They're one of our undead creations, but there's a byproduct of all that raw power plus lingering emotions of battle and war. These creatures came up and were effectively draining essence, but not dead.
Well, they didn't come up.
They were creatures like made from the body parts of the
Right.
So that's,
Yeah.
that's like a will that took control of a body and starts needing to eat other essence to survive, and they have to literally consume the essence, but not like the Broken do. They don't get a cool proboscis. No, they eat you. And if you
So-
chop off a body part, they get to replace it with another body part.
Do they come about into the world like gizzards?
No, they're
Well, you said it's an abundance of power, so if it's a different
So-
abundance of power in War and Death, would that
It was
create
the-
your Arl?
the god weapons are what created the Arl's existence.
Oh,
Because
okay.
Theranik, Elios, Zayak, and Catiline stepped into the world with them and said...
We'll talk about gizzards in a minute.
Sorry,
We'll talk
we're flying
about
good.
gizzards with creatures.
we'll have to still mention
Gizzards
what
are
they are.
real neat things. You'll get to
Gizzards.
hear about them later.
But so when Theranik stepped
Tune in.
into and destroyed the armies that were fighting against the Horkai, and he decimated it, right? It actually becomes like weak spots between the natural world and the underworld, and then you have the last stand of Shota is like where that happens. Because of that, the lingering essence that was left over coagulated,
So it's an Arl
coalesced.
breeding ground.
It became a breeding ground for Arls. And so basically what happened is that essence kind of gathered itself in some places and then would animate a corpse.
Body. Yep.
And that corpse has to feed off of essence, and so it becomes an issue. And they aren't like particularly the most powerful creatures, but they're a nuisance
And resilient.
and resilient.
And when they
Yeah,
first
yeah.
happened, they were surprised and in mass. There was not one or two.
There's
It
a
was
ton of them. They don't die, and
they're hard to kill, yeah. And if like you don't completely destroy the bodies that house the essence, then they're just gonna
you have
go
to.
and recollect themselves with new body parts. It's not uncommon to see Arls trolling a body like a battlefield, picking up body parts and like carting them away. They're semi-intelligent in that regard.
Right. So
But they also have the intelligence to set up traps, to set up ambushes, and they roved for a long time. So the halflings formed a response team.
Lorithian Guard.
No, not the Lothian Guard yet.
Guard.
The Lothian Guard is designed.
Same area though.
Well, before the Lothian Guard, the halflings came together to fulfill their divine purpose and protect everybody else. So if you felt the need to protect people while they were in their infancy trying to rebuild the world, you were a halfling, you went and joined this roving band of guardians, like guardianship protectors.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the ones that fought off the Arls more aggressively than everyone else.
They're all guardians.
No, not literally. They're not all really. They're not all guardian classes. Just that's what they became. Like, a shield
Terrifying
for
would
the
it
rest of
be
the
is
people.
just you just see these giant shields running at you, and you know there's a little person behind it.
okay, we need to
What-
get back to the secret society.
we definitely went off.
Well,
yeah.
So just a 2-second blip on Arl. So we have natural creatures and magical creatures, and gizzards are part of the magical creatures, but they're kind of cool and pets, and you can use their silk for making cloth. So
Was it you don't love your girlfriend until you get her a gizzet?
Until you get herself a gizzet. Thank you, Evan.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to secret societies. Where were we?
Talk about the Knights of End of Day. We're talking about the Broken War, actually. It's how
Broken War.
So,
yeah.
But that was a part of the Knights of End of Days became its own thing. So let's go back to
the Knights of End of Days
Knights of
exclusively broken.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So like your initiation ritual is becoming a broken.
You don't get to be a part of the Knights of End of Days unless you're a broken.
If you get invited and say no, will they just kill you? Or
if you, yeah, that's really not an option. It's like either you accept this gift or you're gonna be food.
And from what I understand, being accepted in is a gamble anyway.
Yes. So they basically, like, I've thought about, is there a better word for this? But there's not. They baptize you into the ley lines. So you're an essence wielder or an arcanist. And
usually they recruit from the arcanist school.
Right.
There's a school of arcane, and the Knights of End of Days kind of
permeate. They drown you, and if God likes you, you get to live.
If Vagog likes you.
If Vagog gives you her
Vagog
blessing.
is God to them.
God.
Yeah. God. Yeah. So, little g. But yeah, so they dunk you and they essentially drown you in the primary ley line of the world. And if you die, then, you become part of the ley line and you become food for them because you're essence. And if you survive, you can be one of them. And then you're broken.
So either you die or you gamble.
So it's almost like you get that baptism and then your mind is awash with the vision that Vagog has for you. And if you rebel against that vision, you will be broken into pieces and die because you're effectively fighting against the power that's going to save you. But if you accept her vision of destruction in that process, that's what's going to allow her magic to keep you together and give you the transformation necessary. But you are literally sacrificing your mind and your vision to become a part of this greater vision of hers, which is everything must die. So the Knights of End of Days are an apocalyptic cult that know exactly what they're up to. They're not, so they're living lavishly now. They are 100% like, there won't be anything left, so decadence, leisure, like, they
raise
indulge.
The world.
Because the world is going to be going away, so they have that pleasure-seeking mentality as well, which also they're like cats that play with their food. It's kind of bad.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, but that's kind of the creation of the broken. They have to accept Vagog's vision into themselves as part of their goal, or they don't survive.
Yeah. So the Knights of the End of Days step up and start causing little problems here and there, and that's when Kenji's like, well, the Horakai have gone awry.
Little problems being like entire villages just going away, disappearing, like whole people, like whole small groups of people gone,
and not like bodies are found and everybody's dead, but like gone,
like it just ghost town.
Yep,
complete and total, just because they get taken, and then consumed and
in private,
and their bodies get destroyed
because the first one is not a messy eater,
right? Well, and if we eradicate, then that fulfills the divine purpose.
If nobody's there, they won't know we were here.
Exactly.
Right.
And in Kenji's mind, nothing in the world has the power to do that except for the Horakai.
Right.
Because he built them. He built them to be powerful. He built them as a nuclear deterrent. But also, the idea was, you can't have them, Ayala. And then Ayala's like, okay.
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 And then Kenji's like, oh no, he got them.
So...
My beautiful creations. My masterpiece.
All right. So then... All right. So then we have to fast forward a little bit because the Knights of the End of Days kind of step back a little bit to let the Broken Wars happen. Because the first is like, okay, we're going to let this play out and then we'll get back to doing what we're going to do because that will not end favorably for them.
Doesn't
he basically lead them to believe they've eradicated them?
Kind of, yeah. He's letting the Broken Wars and the destruction of the kind of let their existence fall into obscurity and myth.
Yeah, so Broken are like vampires for us. They might have been real at some point, but they're like a myth or whatever. Yep. Like it's possible.
They're actually our version of vampires.
Yeah.
We wanted to have a creature like vampires in our world, but we didn't want to have vampires. And so we're like, so what do we do? And so
The
that's
sun will kill them once a day. And they have to eat to not be killed the next day.
yes.
Because every single time they step into the sunlight, the sun burns essence away. So they have to have a repository. And like we talked about, like you can have what effectively becomes broken, who become trapped in caves because they haven't been able to eat, or they slept and didn't eat. And if they step outside, their deficit is collective. So if they've missed a day, they can't ever leave ever, and so they become haunting. Like they haunt these locations, and all. We kind of wanted to also have a legitimate reason to have boogeymen as well.
If there's a horror story in Savarion, it's probably a broken.
Or an
Or a
essence raid.
ritual.
Or no, essence wraiths are
Or a
terrifying.
ritualist.
Yeah.
Or ritualists.
We have a lot of boogeymen.
We've made more. The world has become more flush with
So,
fun
but
stories.
but how you
Savarion's
become a
terrifying.
broken, all the stuff of how to become a broken. When we do the pre-release, oh no, I'm gonna say something. Oh no.
Oh no.
So we are going to, as soon as we think it's ready for this, we're going to pre-release the role-playing game as a playable game that you can participate in and give your like 2 cents on, and like this is what I think we should do, as more not so much as like an early access like you get with video games, but more like we're almost fleshed out and we want other people to play it to see what you think is good, what you think is bad, so that we can fine tune it better than that. And so that'll be something that we're going to do. When that releases, how you become a broken is detailed in the game. It's a long drawn out, and all the powers that they can do. So I don't want to, we don't need to cover that, but
Yeah. Right now, even through our little testing, we're finding things that need to be changed.
oh yeah,
Like,
all the time.
badly.
This is oh my goodness, that was this is broken is what it should have been called.
You had to blow me up.
So
Oh man, that's something we can talk about. Like when we do like one of the addresses, we can talk about some of the conflicts and the I keep calling them townhomes, but town meetings. They're not really that. This like when you and I sit down and talk about where the game is at, where it came from.
yeah,
We'll be able to talk about
our next town hall.
Yeah,
So-
town hall. That's what I was looking for. Town
Is that
hall.
what town hall?
Oh my god.
Whatever.
Same difference.
But yeah,
Same difference.
so it's kind of fun because the broken are actually hyper long-term players because they are they're not immortal, but they're ageless. That's also part
The
of the broken
broken
curse.
do not lose their minds. They just forfeit their own will. They do not become insane. They are still intelligent, but they don't.
No, they're absolutely insane because anything that wants to kill itself is pretty much insane. But they have a vision greater, so that's what I'm saying. Like they give into the insanity of my life for my. So they give into
Right.
Okay, so they
Right.
they have that, but they still have clarity to process things. They're not like
beastly.
beastly. Yeah, they're not. They're
yeah.
not like.
Well, that's part of the
Love
reason
Hearts,
that they recruit from
The Arcanist.
the Arcanists, because Arcanists is like essentially the most studied magic. You can't access arcane magic unless you like study it, and post affirmation it actually becomes a college. So the only actual college that you can go to is the Arcane
I
College.
think it existed pre-affirmation as well. Like you
college
could still go
did?
to Arcane. Yeah, the Arcane
To
school
Arcane
had
school?
to be because that's where they were recruiting even early. You had to go to Arcane school to get the
You're
knowledge
right,
you
yep.
needed. It was just
Smaller scale.
the school had to adjust its location, but we're also talking about like you now have beings of ageless power and wealth because when you live that long, you're going to accrue wealth. Plus, if
And
you're
when you-
eating everything, why not take the
Well,
essence?
Arcanists aren't that way. The Broken are.
The broken end up becoming in charge of the school to some extent. Like
Oh.
they
If you clear
They
town, why
infiltrate-
wouldn't you
infiltrate.
take their money?
and so then they would also be the ones to make the college an elaborate, lavish,
Yeah.
highly sought after thing to have. Like it entices more people. Here's your.
The dean of the college could be the first one. We may never know.
He may not be the first. He might not even be in the college at all.
He
but
might
may
not
have
even
toys.
be.
He's the puppet man.
He's the
He
puppet
is-
man behind the scenes.
He is pulling all the strings.
Leave a little essence on your pillow for the dirt man. Sorry. For the broken.
Gotta keep a little vial next to your bed if he comes, and it just stops him from killing you.
He's like, oh yes, supplication.
Fine. Won't kill you tonight.
You don't wear garlic around your neck. You wear a vial of essence. Sorry. Blind Kungan, but So
we need a shirt.
Yes,
we need a Flying Kungan shirt.
We'll have to generate one. We'll make Flying Kungan because it's the thing.
It's canon now.
All right, so the Broken Wars happen. They kind of take a step aside, and then so what ends up happening is Theranik starts maneuvering to set the world at war.
And the Broken are like, cool beans, bro. Handling business.
The Knights of the End of Days and the Shadows Guild both see this happening. Now, the Shadows Guild at this point don't know that the Knights exist.
Nope.
And so, but they both see what Theranik is starting to do. And Theranik destroys the Keepers.
Which kind of throws the confusion into the Shadows Guild.
So Kenji's no longer in charge of the Shadows Guild, and the second in command becomes in charge of the Shadows Guild. And so they start trying to pay attention to what's going on before they can make their next move. And both of them see what Theranik is doing, right? And the Shadows Guild goes, well, crap, we got to protect ourselves so that we don't die in the midst of all of this. We need to survive this. And the Knights of the End of Days are like, well, cool, this kind of helps us along the path. So they're like, well, yeah, let's just do this. So they also kind of retreat. And so we have a decent period of time, a couple hundred years, where neither one of them really participates. Between the Broken Wars and the Fall, actually, until the Affirmation, they kind of just protect themselves for a good 500 years and wait it all out.
The Shadows Guild actually recall all their members at one point in time, like before the Fall actually kicks off. They're just like, it's too far gone, we can't stop it anymore. And they call all their members to their halls and start living in seclusion there. And then the Broken are like, let's go sit at the foot of Vagog.
Yeah.
I have a question. Does the first one make it through the Affirmation?
Yes.
Yes.
The first one's small. He goes back to Vagog.
Yeah, he's in the underworld. He and the rest of his disciples that stay true to his vision.
His main group.
Yeah, they go back to Vagog.
His homies.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And they feed off of, they go on the vegetarian diet. They feed off of the life that's in the underworld. You wouldn't eat an Immortuum as a Broken. That's not a smart move.
No. That doesn't sound smart.
No.
Piss off the Immortuums. That would not.
You don't bring attention to yourself in the underworld. There's actually like a whole flora fauna situation going on in the underworld as well, so they have food. Plus they're being suffused by their own god, so that's also kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
So
yes, there are plants that, so Ian asked a question about essence plants. Yes, we have plants that they naturally take in essence like photosynthesis, and they could consume the essence out of those plants, but it'd be like a thirsty person sipping water through like a tiny little coffee stirring straw. It would be terrible.
That is awful. I've had to do that. It was so bad.
Although with no day-night cycle the same way in the underworld, they would just
persist.
They would just persist. They wouldn't even have to eat. They would just persist. The issue would be that once they went into the underworld to come back into the natural world, all of them are trapped.
Yep.
In caves and
unless what's happening in the underworld is a constant.
They'd have to hunt at night only. Hunt at night. But once they're trapped inside, they're trapped inside. And if they get touched by the sun, they die.
Right.
Unless the underworld is a constant state of what sun is like on the overworld.
It has
so it's the same sun constantly.
The sun rotates all the way around, and it would actually pass. So they still have to feed. Yeah, we have it built like a firmament, and the sun and the moon cycles are in their own special spot, and it goes around to the underworld, the overworld, and the natural world.
That's right, we did change
that. So
yep,
they just have to change what their food source is.
They just change, what they eat.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
And they're also, we're talking about they are sitting at the foot of a god who has managed to infect. I don't know why I decided to make the inflection of that one. Wrong syllable. I don't even think it's a syllable issue. That was just bad words. But you have your god who is giving you what you need to survive as well. Imagine like being the first one and getting the honor of consuming from the Vagog itself.
That'd be wild.
It's like in Greek mythology when you're fed ambrosia.
Most humans die.
Well, yes, but
these are not human.
Exactly.
These aren't human anymore.
Because humans can't consume ambrosia. In Greek mythology.
Demigods can.
Because they're half god, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then they become. I think the lore is like if you consume ambrosia, you become full godhood. Like that's how you have to get it. Oh, what's up, Dave? Welcome.
Hi, Dave.
Welcome.
My phone died, so I
We
did
were
not
talking
get the chance
about
to
your
throw the
emporium
goodies.
earlier.
Into the underworld as a living mortal.
Getting ferried in.
So
It's usually Ayala that does it.
yeah, but
It's always
so
Ayala.
there's between the overworld and underworld is like a magical barrier.
Yep.
It's not like two separate planes of existence. It's like two areas that are protected from each other. And so Ayala knows how to make that jump, but
He can weaken the veil and jump through.
yeah, and jump through. And then in the affirmation, during the fall, the veil gets weakened in a single spot because of the Minotaur. And then at post affirmation, all of that spot becomes the primary location where people can move back and forth. But then the last stand zones where the Horakai decimated the armies become like weak points as well. So any of those could happen. But yeah, it's less of like going from one plane of existence to another plane of existence and just going from the natural world, and then there's a protective barrier of magic, and then the underworld, and
if you've read the
get between those.
You can't move through it physically because the gravity wells would tear you to pieces. You have to have built like effectively like a magical tube that's going to allow
If you've read the Narnia thing, I think it's like that where you go into the pool and it just like flips. It's the same spot, but you just flip where you're at.
About Magician's Apprentice or the Magician's Nephew in the very beginning before they actually create
when they're in the pools.
When they use the rings, yeah.
They're just flipping the world to a different spot.
Kind of, yeah, because like
it's a point you cannot access without that.
Narnia is its own place. It's still not quite the same thing.
Yeah.
So like if you literally could if you drilled.
No, I'll get that in a second. Sorry.
If you like, for the sake of argument, if you found a way to drill or dig straight down, eventually you could hit the gravity well anywhere on the natural world or the underworld. If you dug far enough into the ground, you would hit that,
smash you into shreds.
Yeah, that gravity, but you would hit it.
Yep.
And so how you get through has to be something magical beyond normal power, but like you could just drill to it. It's not some.
It's a ritual that has to be conducted effectively, and the only ones that would have that kind of capability are going to be people who are OGs like Ayala, who has a stupid amount of power, plus he's god juiced, or a group of individuals who end up creating a actual like permanent pathway to the underworld. That's something that Duendelvin does when we get to that point.
Kamatai who possesses a Minotaur.
Well, that was just a magical. Yeah. They didn't go into. They
created
knew the way.
That
ritual point that made that connection.
And
in that one point.
Ian asked a great question. He wanted to know, does Ayala ever become a broken? And that's what the no was. No, Ayala never actually becomes broken. His blessings, term Vagog, are way more. Plus, I'm fairly certain he wouldn't survive the process. His vision is very different than the broken vision, but he utilizes the broken, believing that they share the same vision that he does, and that's part of the subterfuge of the Knights of End of Days as well, is they're hiding their true purpose from Ayala as well. And so is Vagog. Vagog is hiding her true intentions from her high priest.
Right. But even if Ayala could survive it, there would be no point.
Yeah.
Dave, from what I'm aware, the dwarves aren't much of a dig down. They kind of just grab what they need and build.
And then there's a point where you start to feel gravity get goofy, and know you've gone too far. But the desire to dig deep isn't something built into them like it is in other
builders, not diggers.
They're scientists.
They're inventors.
Inventors,
yeah. So, Sarah wants to know if you dig far enough into the underworld, could you see the underworld, or is it that you would see the barrier? That's a great question.
It is a great question.
Probably just see the ground.
Before you even got to the barrier, you'd end up hitting the gravity wells, and your stuff would get weird, and you would die. And so you would see pretty colors, almost like I kind of picture like an aurora borealis kind of situation.
That's what I was thinking
of
too.
Like light swirling in unnatural patterns that you hit,
and then you're see red from the guy in front of you.
As he goes, his body goes.
You see, if you could get there without dying, you would see an aurora borealis veil. You see a veil.
There'd be a veil. So
it's like a wispy blend of colors.
Mm-hmm. That just kind of or like an oil bubble. Like you've seen how like oil
on
sits
the road.
on top of water.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it is. There
Yeah.
it is.
It's not the Aurora Borealis. We're gonna nix the Aurora Borealis. It is literally like water,
Like
or
looking
oil
at an
sitting
oil
on
spill
water.
with the
Yeah.
colors in it.
We love these questions because we didn't think of what it would look like before
No.
this.
Yeah, no. Please keep asking.
Yes, absolutely. This is super helpful.
Okay, so the affirmation happens.
Okay.
Because there's nothing really that happens in between.
No, both of them kind of retreat. Like I said, they both retreat to their respective bases and hide from the Horikai's purge. And then slowly unhide themselves after the affirmation when it's safe, because all of a sudden they'd be like, can you imagine being stuck as a Shadows Guild and you're like kind of removed from the world? Because like if you're in the underworld, Vagog can still show you. You get a head start. The Shadows Guild are completely secluded because they're like, nah, dog, miss us with this whole thing. Come back up, and people are worshiping the Horikai. They're like,
What kind of what?
Just happened? Well, and they wouldn't be
Hello?
ageless. None of the Shadows Guild members become ageless.
Nope.
And so they would have to procreate.
Yep, inside the
mountain. So they literally have no idea what's going on when they come back out. And
they would have the books that they would all have to partake of to keep their knowledge of the world alive. And then, whoopsie daisy, the world ain't like this no more.
Right.
The golden age is over. People are intermingling. You would have to adapt so fast.
Right.
And that would slow down their progress aggressively.
Well, but they would have already been adapted into the idea that you could intermix racially.
The greater worlds, they would have to be as careful as what their cells were.
They're coming out and just...
Hang on, keep going. Yeah.
I'll make a face.
I kind of think of Blast from the Past. I love that movie. Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, when he comes up and it's like, what happened?
Right, so how did the Shadows Guild hide fully, even though they were in the mountains? Wouldn't the Horikai get into the mountains?
They'd have no reason to.
So, so the Shadows Guild already,
closed
even
off
before the Knights of the End of Days, had closed off Nazek.
And they were zip-zapping in.
Right, and so they're teleporting in and out. And because Kenji was a member of both the Shadows Guild and the Keepers, he was able to hide the existence of the Keepers from the Horikai. Yep. The Horikai literally never learned about the Shadows Guild.
Not once.
I mean,
did they learn about the Knights of End of Days?
Nope.
No.
They only know about the Broken as a tool.
Right. So the Horikai are considered construct gods in the lore, the mythology of it all. And after the affirmations, they're treated as gods, but they are not all-knowing, all-powerful beings. And so both the Shadows Guild and the Knights of End of Days hide themselves. So the Horikai don't know.
The Knights of End of Days and the Shadows Guild do end up finding about each other and starting a conflict.
Well, they end up having great...
They're fighting each other behind the
battles. You'd have so the Shadows Guild, again, is outclassed. You have entire cells that would encounter one of the Knights of End of Days and get wiped out. And so you would have these situations where their standing order is dip. You don't directly confront. Yeah, if you see the Knights of End of Days and they're working there, you got to get out. You can still monitor, you have to still monitor that behavior, but it's like a lamb stalking a lion. It's a terrible idea. And you are just food for them, and you have no way of matching in the cells that they operate in. And they can't really adjust the size of their cells to combat the Knights of End of Days.
Because they have so much extra options.
Well, that, and they still have to operate in clandestine behavior. Because if they come together as a big group and make a big deal out of it, neither one of them wants that. They want to draw attention. Because after the affirmation and the creation of all the different...
there'd be like parties
empires
to hunt down.
Well,
like a knight. So
if you actually had to eliminate a knight of End of Days,
draw them out and ambush them.
You would draw attention from the government. You would try and get the empire that you're working in to be like, hey, there's this really awful thing here, and try and trap them into exposing themselves and being eliminated.
They're tattlers.
Effectively, yes.
Well, yeah.
They're not going, there's not going to be, I guess there would be hit squads, but it would be like more of a quick reaction force to assist in the removal of key agents.
Right. The Shadows Guild is a lot more of a puppeteer organization operating behind the scenes than they are a militant force. And they would have militant members, but as a general rule, they wouldn't be a militant force. And so their clandestine cells, I mean, we talked about the four individuals that operate within them. None of them are like the fighter of the group. One of them is kind of the protector role, but you wouldn't have a group of 4 individuals who are like war bound, right?
Yeah.
And so they would never go toe to toe with a knight.
And I mean, you're talking about an organization that one can't live forever versus one that has longevity,
right?
And
you don't mess
power.
with the knights.
You don't mess with the knights.
You would set up operations to watch them. So the Shadows Guild is actually more adept at hiding and doing subtle things, whereas the Knights of End of Days tend to stay within the Arcanist circles, but throw their weight around through their money, through their authority that way,
right,
by embedding themselves. Like, so they have long-lasting families that embed themselves in the empires.
And so they just disappear for a while and come back as the same person.
So we didn't really talk about the Knights of End of Days earlier, Dave. But kind of this is their introduction, and they're gonna get their own. Like, we'll kind of move into how the two of them interact. Mm-hmm. The Knights are, I guess, depends on. I think when you popped in, we may in the last one have talked about their creation a little bit.
No, we intentionally didn't talk about them at all.
Okay, we talked about the.
Today is the first time we brought them up. We hinted at them existing.
Yep,
that was all.
And then so when we get this back up and posted, definitely want to check out, and you can kind of catch more of the info, because Knights of End of Days are wildly awesome.
Yeah.
But also awful.
they're problem causers.
Yeah.
Yep.
So sorry, I wanted to. Oh, we talked about how they operated.
Yeah.
Sorry, that just came to my head, and I was like, I need to bring that up, or I'll lose it again. But pre-affirmation, the Shadows Guild operated in cells, but like basically you had the guys in the Zek that were your operators, or your
switchboard
operators, and then you'd have
agents,
one cell in the human, one cell in the orc, one cell in and all of that kind of stuff. Post affirmation, because of the combination of the empires growing, you have towns and all of that kind of stuff going on. There's so much more movement and everything, and now we have to deal with the Knights of End of Days. What they did was essentially threw a blanket. So you would have, so Garthia becomes the capital of the world. It takes them a couple hundred years to establish, but the Traders Guild builds a city and creates the largest city in the world, and it becomes the capital of the world.
Garthia is so huge, it's not even funny.
Right. It's not even a city. It's like its own nation that's surrounded by a wall. At any rate, like, you wouldn't have a Shadows Guild cell operating at the top of the guild, and that's it. You would have cells all throughout the Shadows Guild. You had like cells of the Shadows Guild all spread out through the Gondaris Empire, and you'd have a couple of cells in the City of the Wise, and so they're like basically like throw a blanket over the world so that we can operate in secret everywhere.
Because anytime that there's too much of a Shadows Guild influence, the Knights of End of Days would take notice, and then go and hunt a cell in secret, and so they have these clandestine cat and mouse games. Only
it feels like the Knights of End of Days aren't quite as careful as the other ones. Like they
don't need to be.
They're secret, but they'll go do what they need to do.
They throw their weight around in a different manner. The Shadows Guild operates very quietly, very discreetly. It's like the I can't say it, but like you have the whisper. The Shadows Guild is the whisper, and then the Knights of End of Days are like the corrupt bureaucracy, is the more accurate way. They use their wealth to buy influence, to buy authority, to sway something to their way.
Oh, so the rich arcanists who say stuff are probably broken?
More than likely.
Probably.
Or they have someone who's being manipulated by the broken, effectively.
Yeah. But they would still have to stay secret, because if you released the information of what was going on,
people would hate you.
Yeah, exactly.
Destroyed. Absolutely.
So, and
so Ian asked in both organizations, would there be anyone trying to subvert the mission?
Yes.
Always.
And actually, I was actually going to talk about the very first interaction where that played out. So we have
Fallen Empire.
Yeah, the Fallen Empire. So we have 4 primary empires that exist during the age of expansion. the Gondaris, the
We didn't actually.
I always struggle with that one.
Yep. The names are there, but they had the Thillanaean.
The Thillanaean and the
Wabi's its own nation, but
Wabi's the traders.
Wabi's
pull it up.
Wabi's the pirates.
No, they're the Farmers Union.
They're the Farmers Union that's then protected by the pirates.
Yeah, so we have 3 big name players that aren't nations that can throw their weight around. It's the Farmers Union, the Dwarven Pirates, and the Traders Guild.
We've also got the Caravanners. We don't talk about them as much. But the Caravanners effectively
that's true.
Move things across the world.
Ian, can you zoom in really far on that?
Press on?
No, that's the continents.
Oh.
Don't click on it that way. Click on it that one. Yep, zoom in on that one. Okay, go.
So we have our guy in the chair is helping us. That's Thillanaean. That's Lesparthian.
That's that was the other one.
Lesparthia.
And then we have Gondaris.
Gondaris, yep.
And Thillane.
That's the Thillanaean, yep.
And Podalayan.
The Podalayan.
The Podalayan Empire. So those are the 4 primary empires that exist through that age. But there was an original, the first nation that ever started was essentially founded in the remains of Durazan, and they recouped the tech that Durazan had with their trams and stuff.
They're the reason the Traders Guild have the trams effectively.
Exactly.
Because you can't get around Garthia without the tram system. It would be impossible.
And so this nation rises as the Shadows Guild are trying to figure out how to exist in the world. This nation becomes a superpower almost overnight because they rediscover the Durazan tech from the ancient world.
They picked up some of I don't know what I'm saying. They grabbed stuff that had already been used, so they're building off of something that had already
ancient
been built.
Dwarven tech that was super powerful at the time.
Yeah,
the stuff that made
tech, like watches
and the fire belcher cannons,
like tram systems and all of that. So the stuff that made the dwarves so powerful during the fall and why
seized by
they had to
traders.
Get pulled out of their own city. Yep. Right? That destruction that happened in the second earthquake that kind of destroyed the city walls and all that kind of stuff. They still had that tech. They just had to evacuate the city because the city could be overrun. That tech was discovered and then reused. And what happened when when Savarion broke apart during the breaking, which is when the Horakai actually did that destruction, the world fell apart. There was an island that got left over that was just a mountainous island, and that's where all that tech ended up being. And so this empire went from like, we're trying to figure out stuff, we're in the middle of the ocean, they're like, oh, we have all this tech. And so they built tram systems to the main islands and all that kind of stuff. And so they become this superpower overnight. So the Knights of End of Days step in.
They could have the clock without even realizing it.
Yeah. They do have the clock. Yeah. The clock is underneath their empire.
So the Knights step in and kill the leader, install a new leader, so that they can effectively manipulate this nation, which would be untouchable with its tech. And the Shadows Guild steps up and starts sending groups to like subvert all the things that are happening because they can't handle the fight. Yep. So they start sending all these groups to start subverting. So the Knights of End of Days are maneuvering on big moments, right? And so the major event that ends up happening is they kill the king of this nation and instill the brother. So this is a Mufasa Scar situation, right? And the daughter is supposed to I think it was the daughter is supposed to take over.
It was the son.
It
was the son.
Okay,
the son of the king that they killed.
Supposed to take over, but the uncle steps in. Yep. Very Lion King moment, right? So the Shadows Guild starts sending all these loyalist groups, and basically what ends up happening is because the loyalist groups are fighting back, and the knights are engaged, and all this kind of stuff, all this happens, and it destroys the empire. This empire destroys itself, crumbles, gone, right? And so both organizations had to, this is the biggest win for the Shadows Guild would have been this empire collapsing.
Because otherwise it would have been a platform for the Knights of End of Days to go and start marching
eradicating
and remove the beginnings of Garthia, remove the beginnings of all the other nations.
Yep. Davey
go ahead.
is asking, or he's saying, it's not a 1-to-1, but it feels like the Knights of End of Days and the Shadows Guild are like the Matrix
versus
people versus the agents.
A little bit, yeah. So they're kind of like having to pop up and expose themselves in some instances in order to combat the Knights of End of Days. But yeah, you see an agent, you run. You see a knight, you're like, nope.
It would effectively be the Unplugged from the Matrix without Neo.
Yep, no Neo.
Like they don't get Neo.
Yeah. Okay.
So
well, and the Knights of End of Days don't look like knights. Like they just look like normal people. They're not armor clad walking around. They got shields and whatnot. They just look like normal people.
Overly wealthy, the best possible gear you can have, and then insane amounts of power. So
in some cases.
They're indulgent and powerful.
They're going to be in the most lavish. So you're going to see this like silk-clad person stepping out of a situation that would have killed everybody else around them, and then just dust it off like it's nothing, and then look hungry. Because there is a time when, like, if they're having to save themselves by expending their essence, which is something they can do to negate damage,
like a giant,
it's going to expose them for what they are.
Black furred trench coat.
Stop it.
So yeah, they step in and
comes out.
So all right. So
it took me 6 months to build this home, and you wrecked it in days. I will eat you and your children.
So let's go ahead and wrap up. We'll continue. So the fall of this empire, where the Shadows Guild get their first big major win.
Yep. It also makes them kind of realize they have to change how they interact.
Yeah.
Aggressively.
Exactly. And so I think we'll finish. We should be able to get all the way through in the next episode. So those of you who are regularly on, we're going to do one live a week moving forward. It just right now in our lives, it just doesn't make sense. So we're going to record a second one and release it on Thursday, but it will not be a live showing.
And we're going to hop back and forth between hosts. So today we had Corbin as the kind of the question asker and the host, and our flying Gungan pilot. And then next time around for the live, it's going to be Taylor.
Is that what this seat is called? Is this just Kungan's captain chair?
Yeah, we can call it the captain's chair.
Captain's chair. So
I am the pilot today.
Yep, you're the pilot.
Alrighty. So we will see you live next Tuesday. And on Thursday, about this time, we will launch Secret Societies Part 3.
It'll be good. All right, y'all. Thanks for popping in. And as always, like, comment, subscribe. It's super helpful. Let's get more information out there. We'd love to be able to spread more of this lore out to everybody. We've worked hard on it. It's a lot of fun. I think you guys enjoy it as well.
We've worked really hard on it.
And it's a work in progress, and it's growing, which is huge. So you guys get to pop in.
It's crazy. They've been working on it for so long, and they're not even done.
There's a lot left. There's a lot left. So this is definitely helping us flesh out a lot of the holes in the
because we're nailing it down. Because once we say it, it's
which is true. I have made some comments on here that are now canon that I'm like, well, son of a gun, and I've been called in my own.
Like the first one, being a human.
Oh, real quick before we go, Davey asked, are the knights made up of all the races?
Yes.
Yes. It would initially be humans because humans are wise and studied. And so logically, the school of arcanists would have more humans than it would others. But yeah, absolutely, all the races are welcome to this school.
And that's something to talk about too. We can talk about this on another one. Never mind. I won't go into that. We don't have enough time. But effectively, the arcanists were existing as a conglomerated group long before the other races did, which made them weirder than.
If you want them broken in your Moo Moo Emporium, that can happen.
No, we're not going to put a broken in the Moo Moo Emporium. No broken in the Moo Moo Emporium. They may be frequent.
He just meant are the Knights of End of Days made up of all of them?
Yes.
They are not selective in who they choose. It is just if they can keep secret and destroy the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Who wants power? Who wants glory? Who wants to eat people?
Who wants the eradication of life?
Yep.
So, all right. Well, till next time.
Bye.
See y'all later.